All right, so we're in week 4. So basically, we're going to go over a lot more of what your concept is, how that is going to be defined, how you're going to interact with the customer, how you're going to deliver that service, and how are your customers, your potential customers, currently solving that problem today, okay? You know, from that aspect, anything you guys are building, okay, you identified a problem because either you were the person who was having that problem or you knew somebody that was having that problem. And you were like, hey, there's got to be a better way, okay? In the initial class, some of you expressed what your experience was, why you came up with the idea, and why you're doing it. So from that aspect, we're going to delve a little bit deeper into it over the next hour. We're going to examine some ideal customer profiles. You have the ability here in this group to, instead of like what I had 3 years ago, to have a conversation with me, myself, and I, okay? And unfortunately, I have a limited perspective with that. You have the ability to have a perspective of everybody in this room that has different life experiences. So they are your sounding board. This is, for lack of a better term, your beta, your test market of people to tell you, for lack of a better term, why your baby is ugly, okay? And from that aspect, how can you dress it up, bring it out into public, and get people to like it and stuff. And then from that experience, hopefully you go through 2 or 3 iterations before it's actually starting to cost you money. Because the minute you turn on the light switch, and you're either hiring developers or you're having something on AWS, that money just starts, for whatever reason, just flying out of the bank account. And you're like, wow, I didn't think money could be spent that fast. And you're like, holy crap, yes it can, okay? Trust me, I know this personally. All right, so as far as people who already have an MVP out there that they're working with, raise your hand. Okay, so I'm going to pick on LJ. You're going to be first. So go through your building your MVP, how you built it, how it served, and what you envisioned initially versus kind of what you currently have. What was that process like?
Yeah, it was really, the first iteration of it was literally just having some whiteboards, small whiteboards the size of a tablet, giving them off to middle school students at Langston, and then a bigger whiteboard.
Oh, go that way. We're running around the room. Okay. Registration?
Not a problem.
Again, the literal first iteration of the MVP was literally handing off small whiteboards to kids in middle school. They were doing a pasta cart exercise for physics, and then we had a big whiteboard in the middle of the classroom. Students wrote down their ideas for it, put it anonymously in that main board, and we just had to see, like, how did reading off weird answers affect those students' mental health. And we slowly matriculated to this, where when the first MVP I made off the code was using Upwork, and I did about 3 different projects on that, and now I'm using Replit. And each iteration of that MVP has really just been learning how to simplify the UX for both the teachers and students. And what was the other?
Nope, that was it. That was it. Yep. So on that note, one of the things that we have now that founders really didn't have, I would say 2, maybe even 3 years ago, is the ability to go, hey, I've got this idea. I need to build some form of framework, some visual aspect of it, and then basically feed it into some form of ChatGPT AI. And it will now go, oh, you're trying to create this, here are some ideas, how it can look, how it can do, and then, just going through some prompts, you can generate something out there. The ability to be able to do that now with AI is something that 3 years ago would never cross my mind, that now is like everybody talks about. When I met Dan to talk about Tax Titans, we had lunch, and I had little pieces of paper, and I'm like, I want to make this. And Dan was like, I'm sure this already exists. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure it doesn't, because our buddy has no reference of any place to go. And then 2 weeks later, Dan comes to me and is like, yep, you're right. this doesn't exist, and oh, by the way, there's a company that does something similar, and they just raised $37 million down in Florida. So you might want to try to take this idea. All right, somebody else has got an MDD.
So we launched Good Dogs of Greenville. I'm Carly, but I didn't say that before. We launched Good Dogs of Greenville as a mobile app back in January, but when we first started out, I used a Facebook group, just like a, your standard Facebook group, and they have like a guides functionality as far as like categorizing all the different businesses people might be interested, especially if you're moving to the area, trying to like explore that lay of the land. That was really popular. We got a lot of members in that group. Eventually we transitioned to a website. So we had all of the different guides on there, categorizing different businesses. Our Pup Perks program is like a discount and incentive program. So to beta test that, we started with these little keychains that you put on your keys. It's like a little plastic tag, has a QR code on it. People would scan it, they would go to a list to see all the different deals and discounts they could receive from local businesses. That did really well. Businesses loved it, customers loved it. So now those are all digital and mobile app.
Gotcha. Now, how did you come up with that idea? How was that for you to kind of launch versus, what people were already trying to solve the problem with?
So I went and moved here 3 years ago from Long Island, we're neighbors. I was doing my own research in the area, moved here with my daughter, with my dogs, and I just wanted to understand like everything that's dog friendly. And a lot of people have been moving to this area. We don't all come from a place where it's, of course, they're dog friendly because they have an outside patio. That's not the case back on Long Island. So it was really my own research that I figured maybe other people are interested in, and then once I started putting it online and going and showing them all different kinds of events, we heard from the businesses and the users, like, we needed this. This is what Greenville's needed to really kind of collect that dog scene together.
Gotcha. I'm going to pick on you for a minute. So, a lot of people are like, oh, well, if I'm going to be a founder in an industry or a profession, I got to be knee deep in it. So, Carly, are you a veterinarian?
No.
Do you raise dogs for a living?
I mean, I have 3, but no, not for a
Okay.
living.
So, what do you do for your day job now?
I'm the Senior Director of User Experience Design for a healthcare company in New York.
Okay. So, here is a, you can have an idea, identify a need, want to build a company. Doesn't mean that you've got to be knee deep into it. I joke around with Tax Titans. On LinkedIn, I refer to myself as a recovering accountant. Okay? I am building something that's serving the accounting industry and the accounting profession. But when I first met Lewis, 3 years ago about Tax Titans, and he sat down and started to rip me a new one about, a video that I had from one of the guys that they bought their practice from that used to be the president of the National Association of Enrolled Agents. He was like, so how long have you been in the tax industry? I was like, well, counting today, about 4.5 months. And he was like, well, where do you get off putting this thing together and solving this problem? I'm like, well, I identified the problem helping a buddy, and I know somebody that builds custom code for a company, and so I'm gonna go and try to solve this, what I perceived was a small problem, okay? And then in getting to know Lewis, he was like, no, this is not a small problem. You are literally looking at the tip of the iceberg. The amount of the problems that exist with lack of technology and solutions in the accounting profession is huge. So for everybody out there, when you're doubting yourself and you're like, maybe I don't know enough. Maybe I'm not, an expert enough in the problem or the application that I'm trying to solve. That is not a prerequisite, okay? Literally take that and throw it out the window. All right.
I was attacking my idiot employee, not you. Okay.
Will you talk about how you set up the Pup Perks and like how that all works?
Yes. So we actually go on my keychain. I know where to put my keys. Well, actually, I just have a back one here. So these are the key tags. I actually got them on the Alibaba Express website out of China.
There you go.
Because I couldn't find them for less than like almost 40 cents per key tag here in the US. I got them for 2 cents per key tag in China. So you can absolutely keep that if anybody else has dogs and wants it.
I love the design.
Thank you. So we worked with a local muralist who created this big backdrop, and that's how I started to get the word out there initially. As we go to all different kind of dog-friendly events, we set it up. People like taking pictures of it. So I was able to repurpose that for the design. The QR code would at the time send you to the list of Pup Perks that you could receive, but now it sends you to download the app, because it's a changeable QR code that we use. And we just go to places, hand those out. We go to veterinary practices, give them that for all of their clients, boarders, trainers, groomers. We have businesses all over Greenville giving out.
That's awesome. And so how do you earn the pup points then?
So now that they're digital on the app, the different businesses who partner with us can post an unlimited amount of pup perks. They can
Okay.
control it and set it like you can use it once per month, once per week, once per lifetime, every
So the
single day.
business, like if you're a vet and you want more clients, I guess, like, you can throw out an offer to everybody with the app.
Yes.
That's, hey, $20 off your first visit.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yep, they've done that, they've done free nail trims, a lot of like restaurants agree, they do like 10% off your tab if you come
Yeah,
with your
that's
dog.
awesome. That's very cool.
Very cool.
Carly, can you hand that over to John?
Building on what you said, yes, and.
Yeah.
While you may not be an expert in your industry, I would strongly suggest you find somebody to partner with who is an expert in your industry. You said veterinarian. I ran an animal health company for a while, and we had a saliva-based glucose test for dogs. And one of my partners was a veterinarian in Spartanburg. And I spent a whole lot of time in his office, because I wanted to understand it from his perspective. And one of the things that came out of this was the alternative is you lance a dog, get a drop of blood, test their glucose. Veterinarians thought, no problem. Who recognized that was the problem was the vet techs in their office who had to do it.
There you go.
Right? So there was a difference there. And then who really loved our solution was the pet parent, who it probably hurt them more to lance the dog than it did the dog, right? And I guess my point there is, yeah, I wasn't an expert in this, but as I got deeper into talking to the various people involved, you learn a lot about the market, and that's the only way to do it, is to talk to people who are immersed in it.
Yep. And John brings up a good point, because as you're building your MVP, this is where you're first okay, I'm gonna attack this market. These are the people that would benefit from this market. These are the people that I can reach out to for information. Don't discount, those are possibly also the people that are gonna first invest in your idea, okay? I've been able to raise a bunch of money with Tax Titans, not from any institutional money, but I have raised money from partners who are in that accounting profession that know this problem and realize, hey, if this group of individuals solve this and I'm an investor in it, I will benefit greatly financially, okay, because they know how big that problem is. So if you're coming up with stuff, you can basically do the same thing. Either it be a pain point that you're solving or a benefit that you're offering to people to be able to use stuff. Yes?
Based on what John just said. So, when I talk, it's a little confusing because I work for a tax business and I'm creating sort of a tax app on the side. But, so my boss where I work, he doesn't listen to the people underneath him, like the vet techs. He will build a system and say, this is how you're gonna do it. And when I come back to him and say, but the preparers don't want it, they do it like this, I don't care. And that's why we're 70-something, 80 years in the business, and H&R Block and Liberty are far past the company I work for. So listen to those people, like John said.
Yep. All right, now we're gonna transition a little bit from your MVP to what your business model is, okay? I wanted to have everybody kind of get up now that you're like 3 weeks into it. This will be week 4, we're a month into it. I want to hear, basically a couple minutes of how you're going to make money with this, okay? We talked last week about exits and hey, okay, this is where the offering is for me. So if I'm trying to get somebody to give me money, I'm able to show them where they're going to make money on my exit or on sharing revenue or whatever. But now I want you to kind of kick around, this is exactly how I'm going to make money, okay? And this is, if I get X percentage of the market or X exposure into the industry, how I think I can get to 10 million, 100 million. because the only difference between you being able to do that and not do that is to have a roadmap, okay? I had a conversation with John the other day, and it was one of those things where it's like, you know where your objective is and where you want to be, okay? You know, the joke in the military is every plan survives the first 30 seconds of contact, okay? Or as Mike Tyson was fond of saying, everybody has a plan until somebody punches you in the face, okay? So the number of people that are gonna wind up punching you in the face in the startup world is long and distinguished, okay? So from that aspect, you wanna know, okay, here is my objective, this is where I wanna go. This is my first plan, and then this is contingency road A, B, C, and hopefully you get there before you get to contingency double A, double B, so on and so forth, okay? All right, Oliver, we'll start with you first.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, Oliver Lawless. My app is Heirloom, and we are providing a way for families to kind of create living legacies. So I say it's the only app you want when you die. And what we're trying to do is basically like gamify legacy for families. So you can, when somebody passes away, like my friend died Wednesday, 44 years old, didn't have anything like this. His kids are in college and they won't have anything like other than like scrolling through his past Facebook page and Instagram page. It's like other than that, it's kind of gone. And so the model that I'm doing is, there's really three ways that I want to make money. There's the B2C subscriptions, which are just your monthly individual families that want to create their living legacies. And then there's a B2C or B2B model where we're licensing the platform to wealth advisors and family estate planners and stuff like that as a tool for them to be able to bring in customers and also have their customers invest in their own legacy as well. And then the third piece of that model would be add-ons, like AI add-ons or memory books that you can order for your family. And I don't have it all worked out in terms of the exact pricing and how that should work. But I would love feedback on what that would look like.
So on that note, so then I would go, okay, how are people currently solving that problem? Is there any research that you've done, any ChatGPT, anything that you've seen out there of how people currently solve that problem and what they're paying for that solution?
So there is one app called Remento, which is a really bad name. I wish I was there to help them with that. And so their model is a little bit different. It's all about getting a physical book, right? So, and it's all up to one person. So I would download the app, I would get prompted with questions, I would make the video, I would buy the book, I would give it to my family. So it's very much like you have to do everything. And I haven't looked at how much that costs per month, and then what it looks like for them to store the videos that you take, in perpetuity. So I don't really know how much that costs, but I would imagine, at least for what I'm thinking, it would be like a one-time buy the app thing, plus a monthly subscription to store the videos as well. So I don't know.
So one of the feedbacks that I have for a lot of folks that I learned the hard way was you want to figure out when you're building your app on how you get monthly recurring revenue. What can you offer as a service that's going to allow the person to go, hey, I need to keep this up, I need to keep paying for this. For instance, I was talking to Oliver, I have a company called Replay Coaching that is for parents that have kids involved in sports. Well, for us, when we were figuring out how to do that business model, it's like, okay, if the parents are storing the video in a locker that we call the locker room, does that, allow the parent to go, hey, if I'm paying $10 a month to have this dedicated area to put my kids' videos, is that worth it? Well, for me, teaching fencing, I'll have parents pay, $500 a month to be able to have me train their kids, go to tournaments, so on and so forth. So for them, spending $10 a month to be able to curate and have me interact with their kids and give them feedback, tell their kids how to hold their head out of their butts when they're doing something wrong, or for the parent to be able to sit there and go, hey, your coach told you this on the video, So don't yell at me when I'm trying to encourage you when you're fencing that I don't know anything. I'm telling you exactly what Coach said 3 months ago that was worth it for them, for the $10. So as you're coming up with your business models, think to yourself, okay, how can I make this some aspect, some service that I'm offering where there's that monthly recurring revenue. All right.
My name is Chad. I'm in the middle of a little bit of a transition here.
Okay.
Originally, my genesis for the app was to help people get ready for job interviews. I had entered the job market, it sucked, had a terrible experience, and so I said, all right, there's got to be a better way. In the process of building this and then meeting with my mentors, I kind of realized there's a different play. And so we're taking a moment to abstract up a layer and say, okay, if I could take this conversational AI thing that I built and make it into a platform, we can then open it up to a B2B audience that they can then use those tools to help train their sales staff, help train for all these other things that are conversations. And we wanted to try to start positioning ourselves as like the Duolingo for conversation that matters. And so in doing that, it's like, okay, that creates the platform. Now we need to start just kind of creating a couple of vertical apps to really kind of test that, prove it, and then kind of start heading more on the B2B side. But we do have that B2C side with these little verticalized apps. So for those, it's just going to be a regular monthly, typical 3-tier pricing, a free, kind of a basic, and then a premium platform at $0, $15, $30 a month for the various feature sets. The B2B side, that one I have no experience with. I'm trying to figure that out. That's going to be a little bit further down the road. So I just want to get these first couple of apps launched. And that's where I'm at now.
Okay, great. I'm going to hand that over to Tom.
So Tom, my company's called Am I Compliant? My mentors have told me I've been trying to boil the ocean. So they didn't say it like that, but I read between the lines. So I've had this idea for quite a while because I worked in the industry a bunch of years ago, and the need is still there. So there's really 3 different users that I can attack through this, so, and I want them all involved. So the hard part is figuring out how to do that without doing too much at the beginning. So one of my mentors said, just stop building, because that's what I am. I build technology. So he said, stop building, find 2 people, ask them to get 4 friends each to use it, and then ask those people to get 4 or 5 people in one market, and then you'll have the market. So we did that on Friday. We asked 2 people to get 4 of their friends from their job, from their work, to sign up, and they did. And then one of them worked for a staffing agency in Dallas. They told their recruiter in Dallas about it, and now I have a staffing agency. So just get started, right? Just hit the button. So 10 of those people will have lifetime access for free, because that's what we did to tell other people. But all of those other people are now going to be paying customers. So just the organic, it kind of proves that we'll be able to do it organically up the chain. And then as the staffing agencies get a hold of it, they place people all over the country. So our original intent of going market by market is now going to morph a little bit to using the referral networks, which are really tight in the healthcare space to grow organically.
So Tom brought up a thing that I want to bring up. Okay, so we have taken the time to assemble the Avengers, so to speak, and get you guys all mentors. Okay? You are not bothering your mentors by reaching out and talking to them and telling them the things that you're having challenges with. Okay? Your mentors are volunteering their time because they want to help you. Okay? Let them help you. Okay? Be quote unquote naked in the wilderness. It's like, this is me, this is what I'm trying to do. Okay? I have told all of those mentors, okay, if your idea sucks and you shouldn't be doing this, to be brutally honest with you. Okay? I joke around, I am a former military infantry officer. I have no more feelings. The military killed them a long time ago. Okay? So you going out there and doing this, if I don't want to see you wasting hours. I don't want to see you wasting, a finite amount of resources on something that somebody who's been in the trenches, somebody who knows what they're doing, people who have been there and done that tell you stop, okay? there's all of these things about startups that one of the big problems that founders have, especially in the tech industry, is they don't let the entity die, okay? It's kind of like, you know, when someone's on life support, at some point, it's mercy just to pull the plug, okay? So if your idea doesn't have traction, or you as the individual aren't the person to want to be able to dig in and, you know, start taking incoming fire and not, you know, go back to the rear, you know, your mentor is supposed to tell you, okay? So don't feel that you're bothering them, don't feel that you're, you know, being, interfering with their day-to-day activity. They're there to help you, okay? So by all means, use it. All right. Archie, you're up.
Hey, my name is Archie, and how we make money is by selling video games, right? So each unit will be $14, $14.99. The goal is to reach 400,000 players in a year, and that will put us at 5.9 in a year. That's the conservative side, but I think for based on the response that I had recently, this is a game that people just want to play. I think my biggest fear would be it gets out of hands. Like, I don't have the right team, and the team is too small. But that's another one later. Another way that, now that you said monthly income, it's like if this thing catches on fire, it's all about selling merchandise, t-shirts, shirts, hats. I used to be a shoe designer. I still have friends in the Nike world. And who knows, maybe I reach out and hey, it comes an idea for a shoe. The simplest, I used to design Spider-Man shoes and stuff like that. Maybe I can use that knowledge if I can. That's how I make money with this. Another thing that I want to do is like, is in the pipe still. So imagine when Walt Disney drew the first Mickey Mouse. How much would that drawing be worth right now? Probably worth a lot. So my whole thing is like, the things that I'm designing right now, all of them are going to be eventually NFTs that I'm working on. They'll have a tag and name and all of that stuff. And the whole thing is like, yes, that would be for sale as well. I think you can keep 5 or 15% every time that you do sales. So that's where my mind is, but that's like far ahead in the future. This thing has to catch on fire. People gotta like what they see, and then based off that, it's just like a snowball. That's my feeling on this. So yeah, that's how we make it.
Okay. So he brings up something about him creating something original. So like he said, you know, the person who has the first, drawing of Mickey Mouse can probably sell it for, $100,000, $200,000. The other thing is your ideas are going to pivot into creating opportunities for other people as well. I have a buddy of mine that went through Founder University, got the $25,000 investment, and now he's just recently gone through the accelerator program, and he literally just built an auction house that takes original comic book art and auctions it off. And it took off like wildfire because you had all these artists that were building original artwork. And they're like, yeah, I got these sketches, they didn't know that they had a fan base, and that fan base was like, I'll pay $100, $200, $1,000 to be able to get that, put it out on an auction thing. Something like that wouldn't work on something like an eBay, but curating to a specific market and addressing it to a specific group, he found his niche. And there's an old saying in tech that says, there's riches in the niches. So find that one thing that people want, and that's where you're going to find that money. All right, Jeff, you're up.
Oh, great. Okay, my name's Jeff. So, building this GeoPlayer app, basically it's a community for gamers
Yep.
to find all kinds of games, whether it's trading card, tabletop, role playing, whatever. As far as revenue, we're looking at a freemium kind of business model to start with. very low fee, give them some free options, but then on the other side, offer places where they can store deck list, Army list or whatever. I'll kick that around, but also the business side to where stores are paying a small flat fee to advertise on the site, get with game developers, and sponsors for different events and that kind of thing. So that's what we're looking for revenue, and that's what I'm kicking around at the moment. So.
And, people talk around, I joke around, people are like, oh, you used to own gaming stores and you have this secondhand key marketplace. I'm like, yes. And then I tell people, the tax and accounting industry, that's a $14 billion a year business. And people are like, wow, that's a big TAM. I'm like, yeah, and tabletop gaming is $25 billion. People are like, what? I'm like, yeah, you don't understand the buying power, because as adults, we have bills. I've got to pay the rent, the phone bill, the car insurance, so on and so forth. I have no disposable income at the end of the month. Those 8, 9, 10, 13-year-olds, they have no responsibilities. They get an allowance. They bother mom and dad for 20 bucks here, 30 bucks there. That's all spending power. And so those people that have those tabletop gaming items and stuff go, children, bring me your cash, bring me your money, bring me your resources, and I'll give you cardboard crack and plastic heroin, and get you addicted to these games, okay? Because outside of the video game industry, the other industry is the tabletop stuff. Now, the one that Archie's in, the video game industry, is like just astronomical as far as what the TAM is now. Okay, but 30 years ago, for those of you who are old enough to remember the Ataris, where we sat there with Pong and saw a ball going back and forth. And thought
Longer than 30 years.
Okay. Thought that was
Sorry.
like the greatest thing since sliced bread. All right.
Half a century ago.
All right, so we've talked about business model. Now we're going to go into users, okay? Basically, what it is, your ideal customer profile, okay? And this gets into kind of what Tom was saying earlier about his mentor saying, Tom, I love your idea. If you're trying to boil the ocean, stop, okay? I also went through this. I was like, oh, I'm going to serve everybody in the accounting industry. And people just looked at me down in Atlanta and laughed at me. They were like, okay, you kind of got to narrow that focus down, okay? You need to, go after, say, the tax industry. And then within the tax industry, are you dealing with CPAs or enrolled agents? One of the funny jokes that I say all the time is, I have a 4-year accounting degree. I have sat for the CPA exam. I had no idea what an enrolled agent was, okay? And I graduated 30 years ago until I started tax typing. So as you're going out there and you're doing your thing, whatever it is for your startup, you're going to learn things about your industry, and you have got to be ready to set aside any preconceived notion that you already have about what success looks like and how you're going to serve the people that are going to use your app, your company, your functionality, okay? So in doing that, you're going to start out with, hey, I'm going to serve this person. This is my ideal customer profile, the person that I want to serve. But you have to be open-minded enough to go, okay, if somebody else is sitting there tapping you on the shoulder trying to hand you money, here, I want to use it, I want to use it, that now broadens or may actually pivot and change. Okay, one of the things you're going to hear a lot over the lifetime of you developing your tech company is pivot, 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 okay? Now, with that, okay, pivot also means you have to focus, okay? I am, accused sometimes of, oh my God, you don't focus enough, okay? Which is true, okay? It's like, ooh, there's money there, there's money there. You gotta pick one hole to dig first, okay? One of the things that I learned from 10 years ago when I tried to do Morpheus is pick one vertical, one market, one segment, and own it, okay? And when you own a certain percentage of it, you want to document how you did that, okay? There's a saying that we have at the Launchpad office, okay? I can't fix crazy, but I can document it, okay? It's the same thing, okay? I'm sitting here and I'm gonna get 60, 70, 80% of a vertical, of a market, of something with my ideal customer profile. And I'm gonna document how I did it. And then when I parlay it or go to another market and try to do the same thing, how much of this infrastructure, how much of this plan can I use to do it again? And develop what is basically referred to as standard operating procedure, okay? That way, it serves two things for you as you're identifying your ideal customer profile. You are one person right now. You're gonna be, hopefully, not a co-founder, have two people. At some point, you're going to have a staff. And if you do videos and you document things, you're able to hand that off to somebody else. Trying to retrain somebody personally over and over and over and over again is a royal pain in the ass, okay? You're gonna be like Joey going, holy shit, I can't do this all on my own, okay? The more you document it, the more you develop it as a procedure, okay? The better your framework in your company becomes. And people looking to invest in you, it's like, okay, can this be replicated? Can it grow? Can it scale? The more you do your standard operating procedures that connect to your ideal customer profile, the more you're capable of doing that, okay? I have trained literally thousands of kids over the last 3 decades to all become NCAA champions, and then hopefully if they decide to, try to make an Olympic team. I do not reinvent how to fence every time someone comes in. Somebody that learns how to fence with me today is the same way that somebody learned how to fence with me 30 years ago, okay? The only difference between where they go is how hard that they want to work and how hard they want to train. So for you, when you're dealing with your customers, okay, you want to develop a company and a plan that says, okay, kind of like Jeff said, first step is free. And then here's the first step that you pay. And then here's an upgraded membership. Here's more functionality, you can do more things with, so on and so forth. But start at the beginning with your ideal customer profile, see where you start getting people wanting to use what you're building, okay? And then kind of take it from there, okay? From a business model perspective with your ideal customer profile, when you're talking to your customers, what is the basic thing that they need? Like with Tax Titans, it's like, okay, I gotta file a return every year, okay? Well, are you just somebody that files a simple return? Well, I've also got a business. Okay, well then that might be an upgrade into my system. Well, I've got 5 kids and I would like you to do their taxes too. Okay, well that might be another upgrade, okay? But you gotta start from somewhere with your ideal customer profile, figure out what that is, get them connected into your company that you're using, and then there is a term, and it may be, I forget the name of the book, I'll know it next week, but there is a gauge and a number that you give to your product and your service based on customers that say, oh my God, I can't live without this. Once they get it and they experience it, if you look at them and say, okay, well, we're gonna take this away from you now. Oh my God, I'll pay double the price. I'll pay triple the price. Just don't get rid of this, okay? Take MI compliant, okay? I'm sure after yours becomes an industry standard, a hospital or a doctor's offices like Jerome will be like, oh my God, increase the price, please don't get rid of it, okay? That happened in the accounting industry about 4 or 5 months ago with a company by the name of Bench, okay? Bench raised millions upon millions of dollars to do bookkeeping for people inexpensively. And they had raised so much money, they had literally hundreds of thousands of clients that were paying to do their bookkeeping for them. And then they sent an email out on Friday and say, okay, everybody's monthly subscriptions or annual subscriptions are due to do your bookkeeping, so everybody paid. And then on Monday, they sent an email going, yep, we're closing our doors. And you can't have any of your financial data, okay? In the accounting world, it was literally like end of times. People were losing their minds. They're like, oh my God, if Bench had gone out and said, hey, we have a financial problem, we need everybody to pay for 3 years in advance for us to stay open, they probably would have raised $400 million literally overnight.
At the beginning of the year too. There was $110 million. That's $110 million from investors. I mean, that they just had like in the bank. Yeah, they
Yeah.
spent it all.
Yep. So,
Somebody's going to jail.
The mistake they made was they tried to do flat rate accounting. That's the mistake that we see a lot in this. Someone did a very similar thing to the tax 5 years ago called T-Spiller. And that was why they couldn't make money. They were just, Amit Fernuri, the guy who was the co-founder of Travelocity, he founded this company that was very similar. But his whole thing was he wanted to be a flat rate. And accounting is more complicated than that. And he found he just was, spending his own savings, keeping the company alive. Sorry, guys.
yep, you got it. All right, so I'm gonna go around each person, we're gonna talk about what you envision your ideal customer profile to be. LJ will be first.
Gotcha.
Vanna White is coming to give you
I wore the comfy shoes today.
Hi guys, hi Chuck. Again, I'm LJ and my company is Cool Note. We're improving learning, math learning by an assessment platform that strengthens feedback between teachers and students and lowering math anxiety. I would say right now my ideal customer profile, I've narrowed it down to level 100 and below math courses at colleges and universities, preferably with instructors and lecturers and non-tenured professors, and preferably those teachers who do lecture plus exercises in the classroom. And then depending on how testing goes this semester, it might also, narrow it down to right now at least doing labs, since that gives the teachers more time or the TA more time.
Okay, so one of the things with this class is, how many people in this room know somebody who is a teacher? Raise your hand. Okay, so as an example, all right, crowdsourcing and looking for feedback on ICP and how people can do that. Everybody that just raised their hand, you should be contacting with LJ and go, let me give a warm introduction to you, to a teacher who can give you feedback. That amount of feedback for him to develop his company literally does not have a price tag. Okay? Being able to have somebody give him feedback, tell him if they're willing to spend money for it, or, hey, if it did this, I'd spend X amount of money, because this is a problem that I have, gives him a roadmap. Okay? And that roadmap is very important because as somebody that says, hey, I used to be an educator, I won the lotto, I've got $50 million, I want to invest in your idea. LJ, if I gave you $1 million, what is the roadmap? What is the features? What are the things outside of what you're doing right now that would cause me to invest in you? Okay? Having enough of that with him, okay, from people being able to give him those connections is invaluable. Okay? And everybody in this room should understand what the ICP is with all of their classmates. Okay? You're all in this together. Not everybody's going home. Some are people going home in a body bag. So from that aspect, you want to try to get it. So while you're here and you're developing these connections, you can use and share as many resources as possible. All right, who wants to talk about their ICP next? Joey!
Yeah.
You've been voluntold.
Good. Customer profile for us is somebody who needs access to tools to make things, or workspace to make things, or they're looking for a community.
Gotcha. All right. How many people know somebody who is one of those DIY or DIY folks that has got a garage and they're trying to do some home improvements? Raise your hand. Okay. 2, 3. So from that aspect, instead of that person coming to you and go, hey, I'd like to borrow your tools, and you're never going to see those tools again, you can go, I know this great place called Synergy Mill. Joey, you can pay monthly fees over there. He's got all kinds of tools that you can use. I know this because I built an entire shipping container house that I live in, and as a recovering accountant and fencing coach, I didn't know anything about welding. I welded and did everything, and I'm happy to say I have all of my fingers and all of my toes, thanks to Joey. Okay? So that's an idea of knowing, you know, who is out there. And when I was looking to learn these things, I was like, oh, I learned how to weld. So I jump on Google and I'm like, and they're like, oh yes, we have a 12-week, you know, welding course for you to learn. I'm like, I don't need a 12-week learning course. I'm not going to go and be a welder, you know, as a job. I need to be able to do this, kind of like cut wood, and I need somebody. And then I found out about Synergy Mineral. Joe was like, yeah, we run a one-day course on how to like cut and weld and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, all right. And I came home to my wife and I'm like, look, I built you a bottle tree. You know? I remember that tree. Yeah. but that's.
I wasn't here when you told her you were gonna live in ship construction.
We're gonna go out to dinner. I have so many stories.
All right, who's next? Somebody raise your hand. Don't make me volunteer somebody else. Okay, Carla, you're up.
They're fuzzy.
Fuzzy thing.
So our ICP is any business owner who either owns a dog-related business, like veterinary practices, boarders, groomers, trainers, or dog adjacent, so dog friendly, so any kind of restaurants or breweries or anything like that that allows dogs on premises.
Gotcha. Tom, you're up.
All right, our ICP are contract healthcare professionals. So anyone who, you could be 25 to 65. We're actually getting a lot of interest from people that are kind of sitting on their RN license and they just want to pick up shifts. They're looking at a 30 to 45 day onboarding cycle with staffing agencies. So if we can offer them a week onboarding, they can get to work faster and just pick up extra shifts. So contractors that want to travel 13 weeks, you know, different parts of the country, they can become our client every 13 weeks again. So it's a good model to keep them engaged.
So how many people know somebody works in the healthcare industry? Okay, again, on the community app, okay, we've demonstrated this now in real life. I need this next week, every person in cohort 1 in that category, that class area on the app, to define exactly what your ICP is so that everybody in the class knows who you're looking to sell to and what type of connection would help you in building your app, your business, or whatever, so that everybody else can put it out there, okay? How many people are on LinkedIn? Raise your hand. Okay, so we all have a social media presence on LinkedIn, okay? I'm not talking about Facebook right now. That's a whole nother ball of wax. But how many people have 100 followers or more on LinkedIn? Raise your hand. 500. 1,000. 5,000. 10,000. 13,000. 14,000. Okay. So we all have these connections. Okay, this is one of the things I said last week about each week. I am a startup. My ICP is somebody who's got an idea on napkin for a tech company. They come in here, see whether or not they have got the gumption and the ability to build the infrastructure to start a company. I'm not funded by the city or the state. We have investors that have invested in in the Launchpad to build a facility to facilitate this, to hopefully then have you folks become part of our network and then give you the tools, the resources, and the connections to scale and grow here in the state. Outside of, well, nobody here can help me. I guess I'm going to Memphis. I guess I'm going to Austin. I guess I'm going to Atlanta. I guess I'm going to Charlotte. Okay? Once we get enough successes here, okay, then the city, the state, the county can't ignore us anymore. And our goal is to be able to replicate this in every opportunity zone throughout the entire United States. Okay? Because we found a niche in, hey, we can take a tech company and put it in an opportunity zone, and if it scales and grows, and that person has an exit in 10 years, they don't pay any capital gains tax to the IRS. And for everybody, investors and companies. All right, now we're going to talk about the dirty little secret called competition for the next 10 minutes, okay? I have been told many times, if you don't think you have a competitor to what you are doing, you are lying to yourself, okay? Someone, something is providing the service that you're doing right now, okay? There was a day, believe it or not, where milkmen came to your house and they delivered milk to your doorstep, and that was a business. There was a day someone took blocks of ice and brought it to your house and sold it to you, and you were happy to pay for that service, okay? There are a lot of services that exist out there that quote unquote solve your problem in a roundabout way. Your job, your goal is to provide that same type of solution more efficiently, effectively. Doesn't necessarily have to be cheaper, okay? So don't think, oh, well, I've got to offer this service with my company at a lower price point. Don't do the race to the bottom. You want to price your thing on what that opportunity is. We all joke around, none of us are getting any younger, none of us are getting time back. So if you're providing a solution to somebody that saves them time, effort, you need to be able to kind of equate that to some type of dollar figure, and don't be afraid to charge for it, okay? You know, there's an old saying that luxury goods, even in a downturn in an economy, those markets still continue to scale and grow, okay? You don't see Mercedes-Benz be the first person to tank, okay, on a down economy. All right, competitors. Chad, you're first.
Sure. For the job product that I'm making, kind of the biggest competitor in that area is a company called Teal out of Israel. They basically make an extension, a Chrome extension that when you're job hunting, you can pull all that data and manage it in the web in the back end. They raised something like $6 million a couple of years ago on their seed round. They've been very successful. CareerFlow is another one. They came out of Techstars like last year or so. They've had fantastic growth. So it's out there. I address a slightly different niche than they do, but they're definitely adjacent and in a lot of ways just kind of prove the market for me. So I'm looking at that as validation and something to kind of go after.
Gotcha. All right, Joey.
Yes, sir. My biggest competitor, believe it or not, is apathy and demotivation from my customers. Are lazy and don't show up. But actually, there are niche hobby type providers in town, you know, like the wine and paint and wine and pottery. And they're kind of a single track. One day, get together with your buddies and do a thing, and then go away, you're done. Or it's AR Workshops is another one in town that it's a prefabricated kit that you go buy at their shop. So we provide those kind of services, but more. But how do I get my customers to understand that they're so much more than just welding and wine?
I was about to say, well, hopefully not welding in wine.
And I would joke around and I would challenge Joey and go, okay, as you know, somebody in the class, and I would say your biggest competitor is Home Depot and Lowe's, because they sell everybody on the idea, hey, come buy your stuff from us and you can do it all on your own. One of the best, funniest billboards I've ever saw was on I-85 in Gastonia, where they had a plumber, I think it was, in his company, and it goes, when DIY becomes OMG, okay? And he was basically saying, you know, you're gonna go to Lowe's, you're gonna buy something, you're gonna think, hey, I'm Bob the Builder, I'm gonna go in and like, oh my God, my entire house is flooding. What the hell do I do now? Type of thing, okay? And it becomes, oh my God, quick, call somebody who's licensed and actually know what they're doing. So from that aspect, I would say, you know, that would be a competitor, because, you know, you walk into Lowe's and you got some guy that's been a retired electrician for the last 30 years going, oh yeah, just buy this breaker, plug this in, this, that, and the other thing, and when you become a crispy fry, then you'll have to call somebody, so.
Yeah. John, what were you gonna say, please? You were gonna say something. I need to hear what you have to say.
Don't drink and weld.
Yeah.
I was just hoping it wasn't wine and welding.
Oh, okay.
The places that amaze me are the places where you throw hatchets and they serve beer. What could possibly go wrong?
Love that.
Are you gonna do classes?
We get, yes, we do classes all the time. Yeah, it's time for the whiskey and welding.
Yeah, this team welding, there you go. There we go.
I did see putting a face with bourbon and bullets is actually a thing.
I-
The
yeah.
bourbon testing and a gun shooting event coming up to raise money for battle buddies.
I joke around with people like, well, why did you go from Texas and New York and North Carolina? Why did you settle on South Carolina? I'm like, well, any state where you can buy alcohol, fireworks, and gasoline in the same location, that's a state living on the edge. I want to be there. People are like, you can literally buy fireworks and alcohol at the gasoline station? I'm like, yes. They're like, wow, okay, what could possibly go wrong? I like what John was saying. Yep.
So, I just want to point out, Joey brought up a really good point a minute ago. He was joking at the beginning when he said apathy, but never underestimate the power of inertia. A lot of times, yeah, you look at, whenever you're coming up with a solution to some problem, you have to ask yourself, what are people doing now? Sometimes the answer is nothing, and they're fine with that. You're going to ask them to do something when they're currently doing nothing. So your solution has to solve a real problem or somehow be cheaper than nothing, which sometimes it is. But yeah, keep in mind that just because people are currently doing nothing to solve the problem doesn't mean they want to do something. People, I see founders make that mistake all the time, that people want to do something to solve this. Sometimes they want it solved, but they don't necessarily want to do it. So yeah, like I said, never underestimate the power of inertia. Sometimes people are fine with a solution that doesn't really work.
Yep, and I can have a personal story now that my father has passed away. I can tell this without him like driving up here and beating me to death. When I was going off to college, I was like, hey Dad, I need your tax returns because I want to get financial aid. He's like, well, you're not getting my taxes for me. I'm like, okay. So I became an emancipated minor at 17, went, filed all my applications so I could get government aid before I got my military scholarship. And then 4 years later, I graduated a newly minted accountant and a second lieutenant. And my old man said to me as he's pinning my bar on me, it's like, really great that you're now an accountant and you're an officer in the military. By the way, can you do me a favor? I was like, what? He goes, I haven't filed my taxes for the last 6 years. Can you do those for me? Sure, Dad, no problem. Okay. So yes, like to William's thing, people, you know, sometimes will just choose to do nothing. My father chose to just not file his taxes for 6 years. So yes, Joe.
Yeah, the thing about what William was talking about, what I'm talking, and the reason I put that as my number one thing was this is going, because I've identified that as part of my targeting, that's going to dictate how I do my marketing and how I word things and how I attract people. You can put up the sign that says from DIY to OMG, that's one way.
Yep.
But there's other factors that I have to convince somebody to overcome that attracts them. And so this now sets a course for my marketing with having this identified as a competitor.
In it, LJ Bonte.
Yeah, I actually had a question about inertia. So I guess one of my biggest competitors is just having teachers use pencil and paper. And one of the biggest, I guess, objections to my product so far is like, how do I fit Cool Note into like a 50-minute classroom? So like, you know, it's kind of a similar issue to like, how do I charge a Tesla so I can go to Orlando or something like that? How do I address that? And, you know, with teachers having to kind of change the way they teach.
Good. So great question, and for that brings up kind of the homework also for next week. So everybody in the community, again, you know, who are your competitors? What are your perceived, after you've already put, hey, this is my ideal customer profile, and then you put who your competitors are. You now have a group think of individuals who are going to be able to go, hey, have you thought about this person being a competitor, and this is how they go to market, or how they solve the problem. If you're going and saying this is the ideal customer profile and this is the type of people that help me move my business, then you're reaching out to the group and they're making those connections for you, okay? And then what we're going to do as the Launchpad, we're going to take how you guys have put that and then make a structured templated post for everybody in this room to be able to pose that same question on LinkedIn, okay? So that from that aspect, we're now crowdsourcing. We're crowdsourcing ideal customers that we're all looking for. We're basically also then identifying the competitors and how they're currently succeeding or failing, okay? Because as Jason Calacana says, you know, the margins that companies are making a profit is my opportunity, okay? That was one of the things for me with the Secondhand Geek is we were charging 7% on the tape to trade something from one person to the other, whereas eBay is 50% and more, okay? Everything that eBay charges to use for their customers, we were taking a look at Secondhand Geek and going, okay, can we give that away for free to drive people to our site, or can we offer it at a lower price than what eBay is currently charging? Because for lack of a better term, we're lean, we're mean, I'm not paying 180 people to do programming and stuff. So, the other thing, finishing up for the week, okay, one of the things that is not in Foundry University that I want everybody to do with every module that we have, every piece of podcast, video, paper that is in the community. See how it relates to you, and then go to ChatGPT. Pretend it is your research assistant, and apply what is in Foundry University to your industry, and ask ChatGPT to give you more information based on the current status of today. And start getting used to using AI as your like Batman and Robin. Okay, this is my assistant. This is my, you know, person that goes out there, searches everything on the internet to give me all the relevant information so that I as a human can now take this and effectively use it to my advantage. Yes,
So,
ma'am.
yes, and.
Yes, Andy.
So take that prompt that you put in, take that prompt you put into ChatGPT, copy and paste it to Gemini, copy and paste it to Claude. And what you'll find is they all have a different personality, and they all have a little bit different resources. And you'll gravitate to one that seems to resonate with you more than the other. So I just suggest you do what you said, but just try several of the LLMs, because they're all a bit different.
And John is a wealth of information in that. I probably learned more in 3 weeks than I had in 3 years with using AI stuff. I believe John is also in the community. I know he has the invite to be in part of it. But don't, you know, John is kind of a subject matter expert for the Launchpad. Each one of you has a mentor that is helping you, okay? John is an overall mentor for the Launchpad, okay? So as we're doing stuff for you, based on the number of things that John has succeeded and failed at, has a wealth of knowledge that he's helping us bring to you, okay? So from that aspect, he is a resource for all of you, okay? And I can tell you he gets back to you real quick. So from that aspect, don't feel, you know, that you couldn't reach out to John. All right, does anybody have any questions for me before we wrap up for this week? Okay.
But I do want to reinforce a point that was made earlier, because I think it's the best piece of advice that's been given in this, since I've been involved in these conversations. And you said earlier about a hypothesis. I had a mentor one time who told me, until you have a customer, you don't have a business, you have a hypothesis. So when you go out and you do an experiment and it turns out that your hypothesis is not true, but you learn what is true, that's not a failure, that's a learning. And what we heard earlier today was start with 2 customers and make 2 customers 4, and 4, 8, and 8, 16, and 16, 32. And in all of my experience, that's the way to do it.
Yep.
It's find a customer, and then find another one, and then find 2 more, and 4 more, and 8 more. And that's the best piece of advice I've heard.
Don't boil an ocean, boil a kettle of water so you can serve 3 or 4 people at your table. So. All right, everybody's got their assignments. Be more active on the community, be more active on LinkedIn, push stuff.
Really quickly.
Oh, wait.
I made a post
This Friday
Yeah.
at the Launchpad satellite office is our Founder Friday. It's something we've
Yeah.
been doing for a long time. 5:30 p.m. till about 7. It's a drop-in. It's not just for you guys in the cohort. It's entrepreneurs, business owners in the greater Greenville area. Drinks and snacks will be provided. I strongly suggest if you can be there, to be there.
Okay, and also, Dan will be reaching out to everybody in the cohort. If you're decided, hey, I'm knee deep, I'm doing this, I'm launching this company and stuff like that, to put you through our Ignite program process to see if you fit into it. And from that aspect, as you're going through that, you'll get introduced to the folks at Nelson Mullins, you know, how to set everything up to become a possible qualified opportunity zone certified business. Do you have anything you want to say on that?
Well, as Blake has talked, there's huge tax benefits, there's huge investability benefits, and there's a whole, and this model opens you up to another market of investors and a pool of capital that is not typically available to startups. And so at Launchpad, we developed a system. Typically, being an opportunity zone business is really hard. There's a lot involved in complying with it. We developed a system to help take care of all that for you and help you comply, to make you investable and give you, as a founder, massive tax benefits when you exit. So as part of that, we take a little bit of equity in your company. There's a nominal fee. Not everyone will qualify for that, but my job is going to be to help figure that out with you over the next couple of weeks during a brief conversation, see if that makes sense.
Yep. And on Founder Friday at the pilot office this week, if you have a friend that's talked to you and said, hey, I've got an idea, don't know if it would fit, whatever it is, bring them, okay? We basically put the post on LinkedIn. This is not for anybody that is providing a service. So you are not going to come to the Launchpad and participate in Founder Friday and have somebody trying to sell you insurance or an extended auto warranty or payroll or anything like that. If anybody does that while you're there, let me know. I have all my fencing gear in the fencing place, and I will beat them and give them a free fencing lesson. Okay? So, all right. Thanks everybody for this week, and we'll see everybody next week. Oh, 2 weeks from now, I will not be here. Jason, stand up. We will have a guest instructor in 2 weeks. Jason is going. Yeah. Jason is one of the program managers at Worthwhile. He's going to be going over a lot of stuff as far as, you know, project management and building your apps, your MVP, so on and so forth. So I'll say enough on that. I don't want to steal stuff. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a great week.